So it's Sunday morning, time for regular edition of Wardy's Waffle. You can see the 8RX and Tom behind us with mould draining the land. A lot of this update is regarding that and how we do it. Tom's explaining the importance of looking at maps and things like that. So let's crack on with this update and we see the importance of moulding and how we're using this to actually rectify all the damage from the winter water that we've had. This is all on land that we haven't had any crops on, and this is in a cover crop of Phacelia, buckwheat and linseed. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoy it. Please come back with any questions and we'll see you at the end. So I'm going to start this update just showing you this clip of Tom moulding and the machine working in the cover crop. Most of our moulding that we're doing at the minute has gone through the cover crop. That is land that we haven't been able to crop this year because of it's been too wet, so we put a cover crop on instead to help dry the soil out and improve the soil structure. And you can see now on this clip that the legs of the mole are 2 meters apart. So we're doing that all the way across the field, except in 1 or 2 situations, which I'll touch on later on in the video. So we go across every 2 meters apart across the field, up and down. And it's important to go across the drains, which again, Tom will explain that when I go in the cab with him later on in this clip. So when you look at this working, it's a very slow job. We have to go slow so that it creates the right profile and creates this mould, the drainage channel underneath the soil. And you can see when we turn, we've got the expanders behind the leg that create a bigger drain channel, and they're working behind the main sort of bullet, as you call it, or the main part of the leg, and they're making the drain channel bigger. And then when we turn and go drop in again, we go steady across the field and keep going all the way across the field. So that's the concept of it. Now I've got some maps here, and I just wanted to show you, and I thought it'd be better to explain on some maps that I've drawn so that you can see what we mean and how important it is to do the job properly. So this here is the shape of a field. The blue lines coming down here diagonally are the drains that's underneath the soil, and typically these are about 0.9 of a metre or a metre deep, so 3 feet or just over. The red line down the bottom here and the one up here is a main drain. So all these laterals have to connect into a main drain somewhere, and typically this main drain is a bit bigger diameter than the laterals because the main drain is coping with all the water of the laterals. And then you can see the red line comes out the corner here and goes into a dike. So this is where the whole of this field will be drained into a ditch. Now this is a very simple plan. Sometimes you get drains going the other direction because there's a brow of a hill, but it's all scanned, and when they do these maps and when they work out how they're going to drain a field, it'll all be done on falls and depths and gradients of the soil. So that's the blue lines, that's the red lines explained. Now the green lines are the mould drainer that we're using at the minute, you're going to see in this clip. Now, as I explained a minute ago, we go up and down every 2 meters apart. So all these green lines is the slit in the ground that you've seen going through. Now you can see here, it's going across all the laterals. And this is where it's really, really important that you go across the laterals and not the same way as the laterals, because when you're going across them, especially if you're going through gravel, which is what we call porous filling, this is why it's important to look at your drainage plans and know how deep the gravel is. You actually go through them, so you help the drainage. So any water in between here will actually go through the mould, go through the drainage channel we're putting in, and the minute it gets to one of these drains, it will drop through the gravel, go into a land drain, and then go down and out. Now these drains are a chain apart, and a chain in old money is 22 yards or about 20 meters, and drains have always been that width apart. And we'll use gravel or stone above the drain to about 12 to 15 inches of the soil surface. And again, most drainage plans show how deep that is. So that's the concept of the job. It's really important to know where your drains are, the angle of them, so you cross them with the mole at this direction. So every time you cross it, you can see the water's dropping into the drain. So now this bottom map shows how it actually works in principle. These are the drains, and you can see that this overlay is the drainage machine working. We had some drains done only a few weeks ago. So this is the drain through the soil, and this is now looking at the soil as sort of smack on sideways on through the soil profile. So this is the drain or drain channel. We've got the drain pipe in red down at the bottom. We've got stone dotted up above it, so in green, and you'll see here it's 12 to 15 inches from the soil surface. Here we've got another drain, and this is one chain or 22 yards apart. Drain gravel, and this is the black line is the soil surface. Now you can see here, when I mentioned up here, we go through the drains at an angle. Here we are going through them. So this is the leg of the mould drainer. You can see the expander we've got behind it, and you'll see that later in the clip. And you can see that's bigger than the foot of the mould plough. So this is the drain channel that it's made. Now, when it's in clay soils, it makes the drain channel a lot better because it smears the soil surface and it creates a drain slot for the water to run. There's no pipes in here, it's just created by the smearing of the soil. And if you're in sandy soil, you don't get as good a mould as the clay soil, and it doesn't last as long. This is why most of our soils are clay, and this type of thing really works. So you can see here, it's really important to find out how far deep or how deep the gravel is from the surface or the stone. We're 12 to 15 inches on most drainage plans. So we've set the leg of the mould drainer around 20 inches deep. So you can see here, we're actually going through the gravel so that we know if the gravel varies in depth, we know we're still into the gravel. So therefore, as the water comes through, percolates through the soil, it'll run along here, drop into the gravel or the stone here, percolate very quickly into the drain under here, and then away. So we do this every 2 meters, you can see, across the field. So you've got these drain channels every 2 meters that way, horizontally, and then you've got the actual drains themselves at an angle, the laterals as we call them, that way. So this is why this is a really good way of rectifying soil damage from the winter. And a lot of our fields haven't been done for over 20 years. And so doing it now, after we've had such a wet winter, I'm sure we're going to see a big result. On quite a few of the clips, as I'm following Tom videoing, you'll hear a scraping and a gravelly noise of the machine. That is when it is actually going through the stone and the gravel in the drains. So you'll hear it quite regularly throughout the whole of the videos. So just looking at the mould drainer here, and when you look at the wear of them, so we hard face the legs with some special hard welding wire you saw. And this is how it works. It traps the soil in the diamonds. You always do it in a diamond shape, and it traps the soil like that. And then it's soil running over soil. And you can see there, when you flake that off, what it's like underneath. But obviously this is near the top and there's a lot more resistance down the bottom, and so all the hard facing is it's nearly come off down there. So just considering putting a flat plate sort of down there to wear that, or even Ruben suggested some chopper blades, which we've got some old combine chopper blades. They're really hard metal, so we might weld some of those on the bottom, and it will just protect the leg. Because obviously you can reverse that leg, you can see at the top there, you can turn it round, so those 3 bolts would go in there. But we are going to change that leading edge as well. But when you look there, it shows that expander really well. That's what it's like going through the ground. But that is also worn. When you see there how near it is to that edge compared to there, it should be round, that's oval. But it goes through the ground like that and makes the hole bigger for the drainage channel and the water to go through. So that's what it's like, how it's working under the soil. The depth we've got it set is about 20-21 inches. And obviously that skid runs on the floor, as you've seen. And then this is the disc that cuts through the top to help create less surface disturbance. So looking at the back, you can see there thickness of the leg at the top, and then it's thinner as you go down. So they're just taking off the leg to weld the bits on. So that's the leg off. And you can see, looking at the bolts they've taken out, this is what we call a shear bolt, and the bolt they've taken out of the top is fixed, and that one goes in there. So when you hit something hard under the ground, a rock or anything, rather than bending the leg, it will break the bolt and then pivot on that, so the leg would actually come out the ground like that and protect it. But that one's obviously hit something, but it hasn't broken. So you look at how bent that is. Now I just wonder, we bought this mould drainer second hand about 2 months ago, so I just wonder whether it hasn't got the right shear bolts in, because shear bolts quite often have a little groove there and a groove at the end of my thumb, so that when it's in there, the groove is in line with there and it shears in the correct place. But with that not actually shearing, I wonder whether that's the right bolt or not. So these are the chopper blades off the combine. We changed those a year or two ago because they got blunt. So that's how probably want to be, like that. And then weld them along here. And then soil will trap between the middle. So it should help protect the bottom of the leg, really. Probably these would have been better than the hard facing, and maybe not even come anywhere near as high as that. So that's it turned round. You can see how much it's worn it compared to that end. Huge difference. Yeah, and the thickness a bit as well. They're held in by what we call a roll pin. It's like a round rod with a slit down it that can move, so it's really tight in the hole. And it's the same with, that's what holds the bottom of the leg in as well. So Tom's got to knock the old one out. That's it. Actually, this roll pin's split when you look. You've got your proper gap there, but then the other side it's cracked. See through there, and there shouldn't be. It looks like we haven't got one. That's what they're like when they're new, but that's too small. And you look at that. Too small, and it just rattles in the hole. Tom's welding those copper blades on now. Be careful with it welding.
Do it again. It's just on that thick wave.
That's good, that is. So, got them chopper blades on there. Just got that sleeve roll pins. It's Friday morning and Tom's just got the RX and the mould drainer out the shed. You can see what the soil's like underneath here. Really wet and sticky and hard. Well, not hard, but heavy clay. And this is the mould, this is the expander. We're going to change these now and put on the new ones I got yesterday. Tom's got the two expanders off, and they're just held on by another one of those roll pins that you saw earlier in this clip. And these are the combine chopper blades that Tom put on the other day. Doing a good job as well. Big difference. So when that goes through, that's going to take a bit more pulling and probably use more fuel. That's it, Tom. Look at the difference there. So that's how much smaller the hole will have been that we've been making. Obviously it was bigger than that when we started a few days ago, but it's got worn down now. That goes on. That's it, slips over, and then there's a...
How long were them two?
Oh, those two. That wasn't welded on, was it?
No, it wasn't welded on.
No. I'm just cleaning the thread up now, getting the rust off it. And we're going to put some washers on to space out the thread rather than cut it and shorten it in case we need a longer one back on in the future. So that was some copper grease Tom put on. Whenever you find a horseshoe in the field, don't take it away. Anyway, back to the horseshoe. If you find a horseshoe in the field, don't take it out the field, throw it back in the field. One, for good luck, and two, this has probably been in here 70 years, maybe more than that. And when your future generations want to know how we farm land and horses are on the land, this reminds them of how far we've come from horses to that. So we'll throw it back in the field. The reason the disc there is it creates it slots the ground so that here, you see, we've got very little surface disturbance. So there's the new expanders that Tom's put on this morning. You can see how much bigger that is than the foot. Just going back plenty to make sure it's in the ground, because he lifted up sort of in the middle of the field as such. That's through a drain. Did you hear that? That goes through the bores filling the stone and the gravel. There'll be another one 22 yards further up. There you go. So the drains go at an angle through there. It's very important you connect up and you connect the drains and things up, otherwise you can take water into an area where you don't want it and cause more problems than you think you're solving. So what we do, wherever we can, we back up into the dike. You can see here these slots. So Tom's backed over the edge of the dike, dropped the leg over the bank here. So any water that comes into these drain slots, which it will, if it doesn't drop in a land drain, it will go through here, through these slots and into the dike. I've got Barry coming behind me with his digger. I've got Tom in the background there, moleing just through there. What we're going to do, we're going to dig down over the drains. We're going to hear the mole plough go through the drains. And when I say through the drains, through the gravel above the drains. And then Barry's going to dig down and we're going to see what the mole channel's like through the soil. So you can see how slow he's going. He has been going about anywhere between 5.5 and sort of 6.5 kilometres an hour. You can see it heaving the ground, but you watch when he lifts out. There we are, just starting to lift out now. And there's the expander on the back. There you go. That's what it's like all the way down the field. Beauty of GPS, just fantastic. This is one of our contract farmers' fields and he wants us to do it every other breed, whereas normally we'd come down the middle here and fill that in. So we're going to hear when it goes through the gravel. Just see if there's another one, Barry. So this is the drainage plan for this field. So all these are what we call laterals, and then they've got a main drain, which is that. That's it, across there. So the one we've just we've felt, which part of the field are we in? We're up here somewhere. We're there. So we're going to dig down over one of these drains here and see if we can find the gravel. Does that say there how deep the gravel is from the surface? Normally,
this one it doesn't know.
Right.
Might do on the other half of this map just as a...
Oh, it's taped together.
This side first.
So Barry's got his faithful dividers out again, just to make sure we're right over the drain. There, they've gone sideways. Look at that. There, is that it?
That'll be the diagonal, won't it? Between me and Barry.
Yeah. So Tom's stood in the right place. We'll see whether those dividers of Barry's are accurate. Tom's just got his depth gauge out that we got from the open day. There you are. That's the sound of gravel. How deep's that? Are the marks of an inch or 2 inches?
2 inches, well, I don't know how big the...
Oh, that bit is.
It's about 4 or 5 inches into it. So let's say 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. 20, about 2 foot deep.
Crikey. There's a bit of gravel there, isn't there? There you go. There we are, there's some gravel.
So between me and Andrew.
So the drain's running this way.
Yeah.
Is that where you've mowed?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right on the mole. There we go. So that's the drain now going across
Right.
at that angle. Look at the roots in it.
I was just going to say, what are those roots from?
So Tom's just dug a hole and found where the mole goes through there.
20, 21 inches.
And the mole goes through that way. Is it? That's what you thought. That's what you set it at, wasn't it? And Barry's found it this way.
You getting Barry?
20 inches to the bottom, is that right?
Yeah, 20, 21.
So you're going through the gravel for it?
So, how deep's the gravel?
16 inches roughly.
From the
Top
surface.
of the gravel, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going 20 inches to the bottom, so you're going through the gravel 4 inches, aren't you?
Yeah, well the mole expander must be good 4 inches. So the top of the mole
Yeah.
above it.
Yeah.
Bottom of the mole's going to be in it.
Off the buckwheat.
So you can see that's the gravel from the drain that's going at an angle, and then this is the mole that's gone through here, above through the gravel, and we were just saying it's about 4 inches into the gravel. So as the water runs down the mole here, runs this way, hits the gravel, goes straight down the gravel, and then it goes through the drains and out under the Polaris and into the dike. So Tom's just put a drain rod down. Has it come out? No. Oh, it has now. There we go. Yeah. The only thing with this, when you look at this subsoil, it's quite light. It's not, well, it's very silty. It doesn't smear a lot. And it's quite not drier than what I thought. If you're in some really rank clay, which we'll have to find another hole, you would see a different, it would be a lot smearier and shinier there, and it would make a better job.
What happened, this dike here,
The roots there that Tom's found, just incredible. When you look,
to the brand. And when it had that rain in October, it went across
all
here,
those
the old way, and you can still see the
fibrous
line of
roots.
it over there 'cause it hasn't come very well. And then here,
and that's from the, when you look at the Phacelia plants here, amazing how, pull one of these up, there, obviously it's snapped off, but that'll be all these fibrous roots will be going right down deep, doing all the goodness. So Barry's now just filling this in. We've achieved what we wanted to do, see how deep we are and whether the mole's going through the gravel, but we'll try and do one under clay soil and then you'll see a better effect from it. So this is the last field Tom's got to do. You can see the Phacelia is really good here. The bolt there broken. I think Tom spotted that, but we haven't got one, and this is the last field, so we're nearly finished with it for a week or two. That's Pete, Rhonda's brother, come to stay with us for the weekend. So Pete's got in the cabin having a round or two with him. You'll see those expanders on the back are much better. See them disappearing in the ground. There we are, that's full depth, 20 inches, 21 inches. The idea is then all these crops we're then going to come in with the solo and chop them up and incorporate it into the soil and get ready for the next crop. When you see Frankie, look at this, how tall this is. This is about 4 feet tall now. Just incredible. Nala's having a look and inspecting the job. And you can see the expander in a second, there we go, dragging along at the back. Now if you don't have that, it doesn't create such a good drainage channel, and that's why you saw a few minutes ago in this clip that we changed it, because the expander was not much bigger than the actual foot. So that's why we changed it to bigger, so you get a better channel for the water. Now we've got this machine, we'll go into all our fields and do them every sort of 3 or 4 years. I've just jumped in the cab with Tom, and there's a bit of so the important thing, Tom, about the plans, why do we need plans?
This is obviously old history drainage maps. I don't know when those done, I don't think it really says on it yet. But, so we know where they are, you've got to cross them so your mole hits into the gravel, so it gives it a nice free run to go into it, and then go into the drainage itself and out into the Grant. So yeah, this is an old field, it's only a small field, so I'm having to do it short ways, but you don't mole every year, so I don't mind.
So the drainage plans, as we're travelling now, the field's like that,
yeah,
and then we're now going across it, which is across there.
Them ones there that go off there.
Yeah.
Williams told me he planted these trees, so them drains underneath that tree.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So.
And then you're back into a dike sometimes, don't you?
Yeah.
And to connect some
so
up.
I'll link all these up. So if I've gone this way, say it's up on a diagonal, it might be better. This one.
Yeah.
It's an old one. I've gone up and down the field. And then there's a dike at the bottom here, so you can link. You can go back into the dike.
Yeah.
Pull up, and then hopefully everything going across will run there, hit the drain going down, and go straight out.
And then if there happens to be some areas that have mould and that aren't over the drains, when you're back into a dike, that gives it an outlet into the.
It's an outlet, or else it's mould to nowhere.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah. Just coming to the end. Some of this field, you notice the cover crop hasn't come too well in places. We've got patches like that nearly in every field in all the 500 acres that we've done.
Country from water. In through here, there's where the water was stood.
Oh, it's stood in there?
Yeah, it's stood just through there. I've pulled the drain through.
Oh, right, through there. Look. Yeah. So just to explain, Tom, when we get straightened up, fuel and the machine, everything, obviously we only just bought this a few weeks ago, haven't we? And it's I think it's turned out to be quite good. So
this is just this field.
Yes.
Well, this is I started this roughly 103 hectares ago.
Yeah.
That's what it's averaging, 19.7 litres over those.
Over the whole of that area.
Yeah, that's 40 hours of work. 2,000 litres of fuel, which is scary.
Yeah.
That's the average hectares per hour, 1.8, but that does include travelling to and from the yard.
So, right, so if you take time off the road and things, it'll be more than that.
Average speeds, that'll be elapsed engine hours, so that's 57.6 hours of
Actual
engine.
work.
4 hours idling, which would be, I know, changing bits and bobs,
Yeah.
and getting out and doing a few bits. So yeah. It's
And
not too bad.
No, it's really, if you think the job it's doing, when you look behind there, at the depth we're at, 2 legs with those new expanders on, and it's only using, oh there you are, that's your average fuel for the whole of the time we've been doing
so
it.
that's what we're doing right this second.
Yeah, the top one's what we're doing now, and the bottom one is the average for the whole of the time we've done. So how many hectares?
That's over 103.37 hectares.
Hectares.
Hope this will be a bit of a fix for next coming year.
Yeah, that's right. And you can see there that auto steer. Sorry, there's a glare on the screen. So just straighten it up. So nearly finished this field. The map, another field that we've done, you can just see there the amount of different drainage schemes in that. All those lines are drains. That's a separate field,
That's
isn't
a
it?
separate field,
So this
yeah.
field is
here.
up there, yeah.
Used to be, but over the time, as things have gone on, this probably was. There's definitely a split in this field here.
Yeah.
This was a separate field.
Separate field.
That's probably a separate field, and the way it's drained, it makes you wonder if there's a bit of a ridge through that field. So whether they drained it either side of the ridge, or whether there was different paddocks, you don't know.
No,
Unless
no.
you've got records.
But it's just so important to keep your drainage plans, and we've got them for all our fields. This is one of our contract farms fields, and when you look at them, does it say a date there?
No, it doesn't. I think
There would be in the 50s or the 60s. These were drained,
yeah.
so a long while ago.